Welcome back. I am here with Dr. John Flucke. And if you have not had a chance, make sure that you check out his course where he talks about caries detection and some of the technologies that are available today. So make sure you scroll down, check that out in the practice management and clinical section below. But I wanted to just have kind of a two-part. You know, we have your course, which is great. You've got some amazing information in there. And it's good and it's refreshing because it's not just about the coronavirus and what's going on today, but it is just continuing education, information that I think practitioners and doctors need to know. That being said, I did want to invite you back to do a Q&A, kind of a panel discussion related to what we're currently facing today. So for those of you who have not checked out Dr. Flucke's course, Dr. John Flucke, he's a practicing dentist out of Lee Summit. Lee Summit, Missouri, right?
Yep. Yeah, which is it's a suburb in the southeast corner of the Kansas City area.
Okay. But on top of that, you are kind of known as the tech guru. You are, we talked about this earlier, but you've got a blog that is the ramblings of dentistry's technology evangelist. And I think what is notable and what people should know is that this is a blog that has over 2 million unique views to this blog. I mean, people come to you to know what technologies are relevant, what technologies will help improve the overall patient outcome, and what they should know. I mean, there's so much information out there, and it sounds like you've really done your homework around this.
Well, yeah, I have. And I love it. You know, it's not work to me. This is one of those things that I do because I got really lucky. I happened to find a passion that is also a profession. So, you know, it's not like I feel like, oh, now I've got to go rummage around and, you know, find out about this stuff. I just love it. So, you know, the minute I'm done with patients, I'm, you know, rummaging around the internet or rummaging around trade shows and you know, I'm a fix-it guy. I love fixing things. I love putting things together. I love breaking things. And this just fits hand in glove with that.
I love it. And it truly is a passion. I follow you on social media, and I love just seeing the new products, the new things that you're working with, that you're testing out. And that has also led you to be the technology editor for Dental Products Report magazine, as well as the chief dental editor, where you write and you do some of these product reviews as well. So, you know, really for people to kind of pick your brain and to kind of see what technologies are relevant, you are the one-stop shop there. And so I appreciate having you on. Thank you as well for providing that awesome course. And again, if you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. But I wanted to have you on just so that we can kind of dive into what currently is taking place with the coronavirus. I know that practices across the country, and we're recording this today is the 31st. 31st of March. And
gosh, yeah, we got to make sure we put the date and the time in it because it could change by 5 o'clock this evening, you know,
so much changes on a daily basis. And so I know that when we last spoke, I think we even talked last week, things were completely different. And so I kind of timestamped that because I'd like to dig in a little bit. Tell me, first of all, tell me about your practice. How big is your practice? How many doctors do you have? How many team members do you have currently?
We did have 3 doctors, 15 team members.
Okay.
As of 2 weeks ago. That's changed drastically.
Very large practice. And so how has this impacted your practice, and what have you done for your team members? What did you have to do? And how are you kind of getting your team through this?
Well, you know, it's really interesting, Mike. One of the things that I got upset about, and I wrote on it. Dental Products Report did push an email blast out with some of my ramblings on it, but I also did a blog post on it. But anyway, I got upset because it was a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday. I was like, I got to figure out what's going on with this thing because it was still in the news and it was spreading and nobody knew what to do. And so I did a lot of research. I spent one whole Sunday just, doing nothing but trying to figure out what was going on. And I went into the office on Monday, and I remember that on Monday, a friend of mine emailed me and said, "Hey, have you seen this?" And I hadn't, and it was a recommendation from, I believe it was the California Dental Association. But if it CDA, if it was not you, please don't get angry with me. But somebody was recommended. We think it might not. It was very politely worded, but it was basically like, we think it might not be a bad idea for offices to voluntarily close for a couple of weeks. And I was like, whoa, didn't see that coming. And I didn't really know what to think about that. Then the next day, I got an email in the afternoon from the American Dental Association, and they were saying, basically, we think it might be a good idea to close for 21 days. And I was like, wow, okay. So what we were doing at that point in time was we were really trying to, meet with the guidelines and such, but we were still sort of half operating. And then on Wednesday, there was a press conference from the White House. And I remember, I can't remember her name, but the lady that's in charge of, she's like the administrator of Medicare and Medicaid services or something like that. And she was giving her portion of the briefing on the coronavirus task force. And she specifically said something along the lines of, we are requesting that all elective medical procedures be postponed, and that includes dentistry, or something along those lines. And we had patients in the office, and I don't know, 3 or 4 team members and I were all sitting watching this. And the minute she said it, I turned and I looked at the staff and I said, we're done. And we started canceling the day. We didn't have a ton of stuff to do at that point in time, but we just moved them out. Immediately furloughed 16 members who were the hygienists, and that was the hardest thing I had to do. You're looking at getting your teeth cleaned is an elective procedure, and they were gone. We tried to figure out, okay, what are we supposed to be doing from a treatment standpoint? What are we not supposed to be doing? Because nobody was issuing any guidelines. And that was the part that really got me upset. Was I just wish somebody would have jumped up early on and said, this is what we should do or not do.
Yeah.
But everybody, even the CDC, was like, well, we kind of think that maybe, but not quite. So just use your best judgment. And my big thing is, you know what? I'm pretty good with teeth. I am lousy at infectious disease modeling. So part of what makes me a doctor is knowing when I don't know something and when I should go and seek the advice of experts. And every flipping expert on the planet was telling me to use my best judgment. I was like, you are my best judgment. Say something, for God's sake. And they wouldn't. So, we started scaling back, started cutting down on the patients we were seeing, the procedures. We're at the point now where some of my, we furloughed all 6 of the hygienists. We had 3 dental assistants, 2 of the dental assistants self-furloughed. And one of the admin team self-furloughed. And, now we're seeing pain, swelling, fever. And that's pretty much it. So I've got one person who is working with the phones, and one dental assistant who has volunteered to come in and set up for things. But anything that I can do by myself that I have to do, like I had a young lady on Monday who swollen root canal. There's no doubt about it. I had to do a root canal on her, so I put on everything I could find, and I did it by myself. I don't expect the staff to be in there with me. Yeah. So that's kind of where we are. we've changed our protocol. When people walk in the door, we've got a whole checklist of things to go through. We're taking people's temperatures. We're documenting, all of this information, the questionnaires that are filled out. We don't have them digital because it's happened so fast. So we've got it printed out, but the minute that, they fill it out, we scan it into their record. We not only do all of that, including taking the temperature, but we also then have, God bless America, another form to inform the patients they're being treated during a pandemic and that there are risks to receiving dental treatment. Because you got to do that too, I guess,
Yeah.
So
much is changing on a daily basis. And it sounds like you've really, I can't imagine what you've gone through. And I know that, right alongside you is the rest of the nation as well. And, but I want to go back, let's rewind just a little bit. You have such a great team there. I've been to your office, I've met members, and it truly is ran like a family. I mean, everyone gets along really well. And how are you, are you staying in touch with your team? Have they, when you broke the news to them, what was the response? And are they all kind of anticipating or expecting to come back? How are you keeping that relationship going, I guess, with your team that is so close?
Yeah. We kept in touch outside the office anyway. I mean, we would text each other and stuff. And so I'm sending bulk emails out, to the entire team on a semi basis of, just here's what's going on. I'm anticipating that they will all want to return. I sure hope they do. But I don't know for sure. I know that, a lot has changed, and I certainly can't fault somebody if they, choose to completely leave healthcare. I mean, I'm sure we're going to see that too.
Yeah.
Because I think in the back of their minds, people are going to think, when's the next one coming? And, how is that going to affect me from a standpoint of my living and my risk? So they knew it was coming. Quite honestly, the speeches were starting to wear on me because I felt like I was given a speech every day on this is what's changed today, or, this is the new stuff we got to do, or this is the new stuff that I don't expect you to do, or whatever it was. So it's been really hard. I mean, we are like a family, and, I spend more time with the team than I do with my own family. And I know the team is the same way. I mean, at least awake, I mean, I sleep at home, but I'm certainly not interacting with my family when I'm doing that. So it's been very difficult. And, and the patients are confused. They don't know what to do. One of the things that we had just implemented not too long ago is we have an online chat component from Simplify that is on our website. And now when you go to our website, the first thing, the little chat client pops up and it tells you this whole big thing about the pandemic and how we're handling patients now. Patients are confused on, when do I call? What's an emergency? What's not? I'm grateful that, we've, at least in this era, and being a Weave client, that I've got the ability to reach out to, all my patients with very few clicks and communicate with them. And I think when things get better, I'm afraid that there's just going to be a tidal wave of things that we're going to have to do and procedures and treatments and stuff. And how we get through that is another whole question, because I think just as much time as we've had off, there's probably going to be as much time that we're not going to have off trying to catch back up.
Yeah, and like you said, this is a playbook never been written before. Now, this is not the industry's first crisis. We've got several of our friends that have gone through 9/11. They've gone through recession, and these are all different in nature. But yet we get through them. The especially dentistry, that's something that just does not go away. It's a constant need, so it's always going to be there. But things are going to change and things are going to be different. And so as we write this playbook for how to get through this, it really comes down to relying on experts like yourself as far as I know that you're in the know, you're in the constant information, you're reading articles all the time. How is this going to change how we do dentistry after all of this is behind us? What are going to be some of the big things that people might want to start preparing for when the offices do open up that will really just completely change our everyday policies, procedures, and operating procedures?
Well, the first thing I think you're going to see people go to N95 masks and respirators. I don't think that surgical masks are going to cut it anymore. The really kind of funny thing is, from the science, surgical masks are actually designed to keep patients from getting stuff from the providers, not the other way around. So it's not a huge deal that we're all going to be walking around in respirators when we go to the mall. Of course, there's another change. Who goes to the mall anymore? I get it all from Amazon. But I think we're going to be in N95 respirators. I think the incubation time for N95 is long enough that you can have it and not know it for a decent length of time. And the last thing you want to do is be breathing on people. I was lucky enough that, or geeky enough, one of the two, I actually had a few N95s laying around. And so I've got those available to me. And we had some surgical gowns laying around. So those, I think, may come in handy. I don't know how much the infection control piece of it will change in dentistry. I'm fairly confident that the N95 ruling will probably come into effect.
And speaking about the N95,
yes,
I want to just kind of highlight something that you have done. When I first called you, in the background, you got something printing.
Yeah.
And in fact, you maybe have your apprentice over there right now behind you.
Yeah, the apprentice is actually working with the 3D printer right now. The N95.
What you're printing, what you're creating.
Okay. Well, first of all, this wasn't my idea. This was an idea that was created by an orthodontist in Georgia, whose name is Mark Causey. And Mark created a website called firedbycorona.com. And he's an orthodontist. He has a 3D printer. And he came up with this idea of, there's a shortage of these masks. So what if we could figure out a way to contribute by making masks? So we're 3D printing now these mask frameworks. And as you can see, there's little areas for straps. And there's actually a little fuzzy of the resin. I haven't sanded off yet. But anyway, so this goes here, held in place by elastic straps. If you want to ensure that it's got a good seal, you can take and put a little bead of impression material along here and custom fit it for your face. But then you go to Home Depot and you buy HEPA filters, which actually filter better than N95, to my understanding. And you cut them up.
Wow.
You take a ponytail hair tie and you put it over the mask. This little round part where the filter goes has a lip. So you squish this over that, then you take the ponytail holder and put it down, and you end up with a reusable custom fit respirator that then, when the filtration medium gets to the point where you feel like it should be changed, you simply pop that out, put another one on, put it back on, and you've got a continuously updating HEPA filter on your face, basically, that you can make these at home if you want to. This filter looked like this at one point in time before I cut it apart. And I don't know how many masks you can get out of this, but this costs $50 at Home Depot.
Wow.
So that's the big project right now. I actually sent a couple of these to a physician in Denver yesterday, who is out of N95 masks and is on the front line. So I sent them some instructions, and I sent them a couple of masks, and we do waterproof these before they go. I've got a waterproofing material I'm putting over them, and just because those were the first ones, we painted them too. We put some house paint in kind of a teal color just to make them stand out. And my apprentice, rather than using elastic straps, my apprentice made rainbow loom head straps. If you've got kids, you know what those are. So those were the ones that got sent out. But the idea, of course, that Dr. Causey has is that if we all chip in, and, many hands make light work. So if we all start doing this, then more people have reusable masks, and it just makes everything better, protects the people on the front line.
I love it. And so what you need for this, you need a 3D printer.
Yep.
And then to get, the design, how would one go about that if they were interested in trying to
I'm glad you asked that, because it's one of those things where it's become so second nature to me now that I forgot to tell you. If you go to firedbycorona.com, Dr. Causey talks you through the process, and the file that makes these is available for free download from that website. So it's an STL file, which is the same thing. It's kind of funny. It's the same stuff we're using when you scan in your office and you're using your iTero to scan a crown and bridge case. It stores that as an STL file. So this is just an STL file. You load that file into your printing software and then load that into the printer, and this pops out.
Wow.
In my case, I don't have a really great printer at home. So one of these pops out about every 10 hours in the Flucke household. If you've got a faster printer or a DLP printer, if you're into 3D printing, you'll know what that is. You can print some out faster. But according to Dr. Causey, I touched base with him this morning. He's had some dental labs reach out to him, and his estimate was that they've created hundreds of these in the past few days.
And I'm sure that, again, we have to get scrappy. There is no playbook.
Yep.
And I'm sure that, this might not have all of the approvals, FDA approvals, whatnot. So you some risk, obviously, but this is what we're having to do. We're having to get scrappy. We're having to be creative and come up with solutions. And so I love that. So, for those, make sure, again, where do they go? Say the site one more time.
Sure. It's firedbycorona.com.
Okay. Perfect. Well,
and I've also got a link to it on the blog at blog.dentical.com. I think if you probably just Googled, homemade N95 mask, maybe that would show up as well. But Fired by Corona, that's his site. And I just want to make sure, the other thing, Mike, I want to make sure that he gets as much credit for this as possible. I'm fortunate in that I probably have a bigger platform to let people know about it. Excuse me, but this isn't my baby. I'm just carrying the bags and printing the masks. So
thanks for mentioning that, and kudos to him. How awesome that he has found a solution to just help those on the front line, and hopefully be a benefit for some of our dental friends as well. And in conclusion, kind of wrapping this up, I
Sure.
want to just I want to know what you're doing to kind of prepare for when the doors open back up. As you mentioned before, some of the forms that you've even had to create on the fly, the day of, you've had to really be nimble and to pivot and to make changes, knowing that you've got this time now. We finally have the gift of time that we can kind of slow down and rethink through our processes and procedures. Knowing that the doors are going to open back up, what are you doing currently to prepare for that? And what are some of those big shifts and changes that aren't just going to be temporary, but are going to probably be ongoing, that you are preparing for as well?
Well, the first thing we're going to do is once the incubation period, seems to be over, and that the infection rate starts to at least flatline, I'm going to reach out to the dental assistants and see if they would be interested in coming back to the office and just organizing. One of the things about everyday dentistry is, the law of entropy. Things naturally go from order to disorder. And we can all be better organized, and we never get the time to be better organized. So one of the things I'm going to see is if they're willing to come in and either one at a time, so we can practice our social distancing or whatever it takes. I want to get things back in line so that when we do start to see patients that we're prepared. We're going to go through and we're going to create some training materials for staff on the new questions we're going to ask and the new procedures that we're going to have in place to kind of help prevent pandemic 2.0 as much as possible. We're going to have to reach out to the patients and make sure the patients understand what this is going to look like. And it's kind of funny. We actually did have a patient come in the other day. And it's funny because we were seeing the wife, but the husband also came in, and the husband was angry because there were no chairs in our reception room. Mm. And we said, well, that's because we're politely asking people to remain in their vehicles. And, you'd have thought I would have said strip down naked and walk across hot coals. He was really upset. So I think communication in this is going to be key to letting patients know what the new normal is, and also to let them know that the new normal may change tomorrow because we don't really know. Yeah. What was it last week? I think they said don't congregate in groups of more than 50. Then it was don't congregate in groups of less than 25. Then it was don't congregate in groups of less than 10. The next thing I know, Target's putting stickers on the floor telling you cannot be any closer to the cashier than this, so we don't know what's going to be different as we go. But I think the communication piece of that is just going to be a huge, huge deal for people. And here's that's a picture of the sticker on the floor at Target.
Oh, wow.
In the line. I was, of course, in mask and gloves.
TSA, like when you're going through TSA security and it says, don't go past this line.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, that's, knowing too, that as you're leading up to this, you brought up a really good point. A lot of the changes that you're going to make are they're going to be new to a lot of your patients that have been coming to your practice for a long time. Mm-hmm. And in order to get ahead of that, it's creating that educational information that you can send out with an email, and I don't want to say regain their trust or instill trust, but a lot of patients coming back into the dental practice, or just getting back out into society, everyone's a little bit more leery, a little bit more concerned. And so that's why we've seen all of the different companies send their emails saying, here's what we're doing in preparation for
right,
or to mitigate this. So a lot of this is really going to be educating your patients before the doors open back up to say, here are some of the new things that we're doing, your best interest in mind to stay safe, right?
I think this will be probably, if not at least as severe, then maybe equally severe to the way things were in the 80s when we went to gloves. I mean, I was in dental school for 2 years without gloves. And then suddenly the world changed. Everything went on its ear. And yeah, we need to let people know, why we're changing these things and what's going on. I remember, like I said, I was in dental school. I was in the 80s. And, we had people coming into the clinic and I would put gloves on and people were insulted. I don't have anything, well, this is the new normal. This is the way it is. I had older patients that were very, very frightened that didn't want to have dental treatment done or, were very, very afraid of it simply because they didn't know about infection control. I was going to show you another picture on my phone. I went last week. I get my blood drawn once a month and I went in for a blood draw. And I thought this was a really great idea. My physician's office changed the way they see their patients. They're seeing sick people after 12 p.m. and people that do not feel ill before 12 p.m., which I thought was great. That way the person like me that's there to get their blood drawn is not in a reception room full of people that could potentially be passing the virus on. When I got to the office, when I walked into what I call the airlock, most office buildings have, like exterior door, then a little inside thing, and then, the main door. This is how I was greeted.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
at the front.
At the front. And I asked her, I said, can I take a picture of that? And she laughed and she said, sure, because nobody's going to know who I am anyway. But that was just to get into my physician's office. Now, when I went in, most people were wearing, most of the staff were wearing masks. It wasn't, there weren't too many people in what I call the Darth Vader suits inside. But once again, if that's what's mandated or something, you need to let people know that, because, I mean, I didn't blink. I'm in healthcare. I knew. In fact, I was wearing gloves and a mask when I took that picture.
Yeah.
but I mean, a lot of people aren't going to understand that. And so I think being able to reach out to them and let them know is huge. And once again, I know that you don't care whether I say this or not, but that's one of the great things about Weave is with a couple of button pushes, I can get all this information out almost instantaneously to my patients so that they can better understand.
Oh yeah. And all from home too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks for sharing that. So is that going to be the new norm? Walking in and seeing someone in this Darth Vader, suit or outfit. When we open up our doors, do you anticipate having your team all wearing masks and whatnot while working?
I don't. I think the clinical team will probably have some new requirements. I don't think they'll be over the top. Biggest thing with this is, maintaining control and preventing the spread of this. Yeah. And I mean, it's so infectious. That's the real problem. That's the whole social distancing thing. If you aren't close enough to be sneezed or coughed on, if you don't touch something that somebody else, has touched, and then, go for your eyes or go for your mouth, your chance of getting it decrease greatly. In fact, this was interesting. I've got friends, I put on gloves and a mask, Mike. I don't even think about it. That's how I live my life. We humorously make a joke. In my office, one of our hygienists, Nikki, has gone to the Taco Bell drive-through with a mask on. Yeah. And it's because, you don't even think about it. It's just always there. You just get to the point where, if you wear glasses, oftentimes you don't even realize your glasses are on. They're just part of you. So I don't notice it. But anyway, I've had friends say that with the whole emphasis on, don't touch your face, that they're wearing rubber gloves, not because they think the rubber gloves make them safer, but because the rubber gloves feel so different on their hands that it keeps them from touching their faces. Yeah. Which that makes perfect sense to me. But I don't think we're going to go into hazmat suits or anything like that. I don't think it's necessary. There may be some people that do that as a kind of an overkill, but I don't look for that to be mandated. Yeah.
Well, what's clear is that there is no playbook for this.
No, there isn't. This is all speculation. I'm just throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Oh, yeah. But not only in the dental, but everyday life, there is no playbook. We don't know how to deal with this. The big joke is like, we don't know. When all of this started happening, people freaked out and they didn't know what to buy. You don't know what to buy when you're
yeah.
There's this big pandemic going, so everyone buys toilet paper. We just don't know.
Yeah.
So, as we're navigating this, everyone's new to this. And just wrapping this up, what would be your words of advice for your fellow dental friends that are, wondering what the future looks like? What words of advice or encouragement would you have for them?
Know the science, know the whys. I think that's the most important thing. One of the problems, I love technology as much as anybody, but one of the problems with technology is that it lets us make mistakes 10,000 times faster than we've ever made them before. And with the increase in social media and the proliferation of social media in our lives, bad information can spread just as fast as good information. And I was talking to my apprentice the other night, and I said, it's a weird thing about human beings. if you read something, for some reason, it seems 10 times more true or 10 times more real than if you hear it. I don't know why that is, but I'm no different. If I read something, there's something about it that just adds validity. And because of that, bad information can spread very, very, very quickly. Wrong information can spread very quickly. And you read it and it seems real. So my biggest thing would be, follow the sources that you know are right. Follow the American Dental Association. Follow the CDC. Keep track of what's going on with OSHA. Because those are the people that have access to the experts that we don't have. But, this whole thing of not knowing, you can't just believe, whatever you hear or, whatever you read. I saw a comic. I'll kind of leave with this thought. I saw a comic one time I thought it was really funny. He said something, and I can't even think of what it was, but he said something really kind of dumb and outrageous. And he goes, "No, that's true. I read that. I did. I wrote it down, and then I read it." And it's a great bit, but it really is kind of true. Just because you read it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So just stick with the science and the whys. That's what's going to get us out of this, and that's what's going to help prevent these things in the future. And there's going to be some bad stuff, but we'll get through it.
Yeah, and maybe even limit the amount of negative information that we're reading. This can stress you out. And if there's any advice that we could give, it would probably be just, check the news not too frequently. Use this gift of time to the best of your advantage. Make sure that you're using this time to rethink through what you have always wanted to change in your practice. New policies, new procedures, and just, prepare for when the doors open back up, and use the time wisely, because we probably will never get another chance where the world shuts down and we're given the time, and it all comes down to what we're going to do with it.
Yeah, I think that's really well said.
Yeah, and like you said, check your sources, check your information, and I'll leave with this too. It was last week. I feel like it's been a year ago, but when everything was going on with this pandemic here in Utah, we had an earthquake, and it was very shortly after the earthquake happened that all of a sudden, somehow, rumors started to spread saying that, I won't say the source, but said that they're predicting a 9.0 earthquake in the next 30 minutes. And literally the whole state, it was crazy how fast rumors spread. The whole state was freaking out, and there were emails and notices going out. It was talked on the news.
Oh, wow.
Said, okay,
wow.
No, that's not true. You can't predict things that far in advance, and double check your sources. And I think the same thing goes for what we're dealing with this coronavirus. Double check your sources. Make sure that the information that you're seeing, don't inundate yourself. Don't bog down don't stress yourself out, but double check where that information is coming from, because there's a lot of it out there.
Well, and the bad thing is not only is, like you said, a ton of bad information out there, but nowadays, all we've got to do is click retweet or click like. Yeah. And then it goes to, somebody can say something completely outrageous, and all I've got to do is click like, and then suddenly everybody that's on my Facebook feed gets this information that John Flucke likes this, and then they all go to it. So my point is that the spread of information, you don't even have to type it. You don't have to copy it and paste it. You don't have to call people. All you've got to do is, this. That's all it takes to spread bad information. And just, use this responsibly.
Yeah. Well put. And I think that's a great thought. John, thank you so much for your time. And again, thanks for sharing the mask with us. I think that's awesome. And again, if anyone has questions for Dr. John Flucke, best way to get a hold of you would be what, John?
Email address is the best one is jflucke, so just the letter J, and then my last name, which is F like Frank, Flucke, so J Flucke at Denticle, DENTICLE.com. And that's probably, with all of this going on, the easiest way. My office hours are limited, so calling me isn't going to do a whole lot of good. So probably jfluke at denticle.com is the best.
All right, John, thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Thanks. And everybody, we're going to be okay. Let's just hunker down and get through this.